Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 7th installment of Echoed Influence. I'm here, as always, with Modest Betty, April Rodriguez. How are you?
Good.
I'm here with longtime friend and fellow philosopher, Robert Garay. How are you?
I'm great. How about you guys?
We're doing fantastic. April, tell them how fantastic we're doing by telling them what we did over the weekend.
Well, this past week was a long one for us. As you know, we put out an episode a little bit late this time, but it was because we were working so hard prepping for Cannabis Art Flow, which is an event we attended June 30th. Saturday, June 30th. It was a lot of fun. It was here in Pico Rivera. There was a lot of vendors here, vegan food. They even had THC-infused tacos. Cool. They had another vendor who
Agua fresca.
Mango agua fresca infused with THC.
Oh, man, it got me chatty. It was really good.
So all week we were getting ready, making boards and presentation-style materials to present not only Echoed Influence, but Home Gallery as well, and ourselves as artists.
Serving as an information booth to the people who were like wandering by us and everything. It was really fun to explain what we were about and what we were trying to do, because people seemed to get inspired by what we were saying.
Yeah,
they were
really
cool.
Interested in our motives and in our general moral code that we have. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of fun to be out there. I was exhausted.
Yeah,
I was so pooped.
But what's cool about it, we got to the parade.
Yeah, the Jubilee and the fireworks show were that day. So in the morning they had the Pico Rivera parade. So cool. They had all kinds of really interesting people walking by.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people walking in the parade, they had like people walking in like Star Wars costumes.
Oh,
they
yeah,
had, like,
the
cool
stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But we got to see the fireworks just from right there.
The
it was
house
really
was
cool.
really close by. It was a really fun event. They had DJs, they had yoga there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. We're hoping to participate in the next one.
I sure bought some cookies. It was delicious. So Rob, what were you up to this weekend? What did you do?
I had to take care of myself. I got sick actually on the day of my birthday. And I had to struggle through soups, sleeping, and sipping water, which obviously it sucks. Everybody has their own form of medication. You know, bro, if you just soak yourself in your sheets, if you just put a thick blanket over yourself and sweat it out.
Everybody has a remedy for you as soon as you get sick.
Grandma comes in every once in a while, throws leaves on you. Everybody has their own version.
It's like, dude, what'd you catch? Oh, you got the symbiote? Oh, fuck. Hey, just 7-Up, some Vicks. You'll be great.
Let me hold you upside down in a pile driver. Just give me 10 minutes with a pile driver. It'll be fine. So everything I tried, it didn't work. You just gotta let the virus, obviously it's a virus, run its course until it's out. And
like the symbiote.
Back to me. Like the symbiote. Exactly. We can all take a page out of Spider-Man. But yeah, I'm back now and better than ever. And
so Rob, I gotta ask, what did you think of the training in the backyard over here in the Ludus?
Oh, okay. So we trained, I believe last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So we trained in the Ludus. I had 2 disciples, Anthony's choosing, and they were amazing. They came down, very open-minded, which is what you have to take part in what we do, because it's very, very disciplined. It's a very detailed-oriented sport.
But we have so much, like we find a way to let them have fun, and it naturally comes along with that discipline. That discipline comes from just, I believe, mutual respect, giving it, getting it, helping them understand it to a level where I wish someone explained it to me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I mean, I think you helped out so much too when you came down. Recently, we had Joseph, one of the students. He had brought a friend who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. And he claimed that he'd been working at it for about 6 months. And you could tell, like, he has some pretty good basic technique. My student's been at it for about 3 weeks solid, 3 weeks of solid. And like the first week was hands, and they came a long way real fast. And they gave that jiu-jitsu guy, run for his money. A lot of stalemates, because they're kind of new to it, but really successful in their defense. And just as soon as, 2 days ago, we had their most recent training. Oh my God, it was entertaining. They said when we went at it was like 2 gods going at it. It was similar for them too. Like it was like a goddess and a god going at it. Like just unstoppable reversals. Like they got the moves in. It was awesome to see, and inspiring to see them get excited for when they did do something successfully. And they had so much respect for each other right after, because they're drained and they've never done anything like this before. And I'm proud to say that they know what it's like to be grapplers. They know what it's like to be a wrestler. Definitely. I would never take that away from them. Yeah, definitely. Like, I would never take that away from them. You couldn't. And we're only getting better from here, and with Rob's help and hopefully your help, everybody in the community, if you got something you want, you can show. If you're good at something, please share it with us. We'd love to have you on. We would spar with you. We'll do our best. If you want to teach, if you want to learn, we're here for you, no matter what. And delude us.
And there's nothing short of, just being modest and humble. There's nothing about approving anything. We're here to build, not to break down or bring down. Make it interesting. Make it very hands-on, interactive, so that you actually do have a feel for it instead of just instructions.
You know what? And I believe the explanation alone, the way I feel like the way I explain it to them, it gets them hooked. It's just a way for them to understand it, not just teach it to them. Because I was just comparing the idea of the kid that was brought from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, where he learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was from, I'm assuming it's a organization where they just have a bunch of people coming in and circulating through, and they kind of just say, okay, you paid, okay, here's how you armbar, here's how you fucking choke somebody, here's how you grapple. And no moral code attached to it. The kid came in here with an attitude and with a lot of to prove, I feel, and I feel like he even felt like he was unsuccessful in that. Like he was trying too hard,
Felt like he was trying to get your attention a lot.
Yeah, and all it took was just a little respect for one another. And because that's where we're at. This is the environment we're in. You're so much more calm and everything, and with understanding the responsibility of knowing such an art. And that's the humble part. That's the respect part. And I feel like I teach my kids moral code. I teach them when to do it, how to do it, to respect each other, to not think that you're better than anybody just because you do that. And these kids naturally had that instinct.
Like, it's not just training, but it's also philosophy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you gotta. I try and get them to their core, and talk to them,
But it's also a guidance, though. You do a lot of guiding. Philosophy.
You can also use it as a mechanism to transfer whatever you have inside you, whether it's frustration, not just necessarily aggression, but whatever's on your mind, and you want to just take a step outside. It's a great platform to use. It just gets physical energy out. Physical and the mental are related, so it clears your head a little bit, kind of gets you a little bit more in tune with just your body and how it works. You can do this with simple breathing, but when you take it to another level, the way we do
I will say this: it's not CrossFit. What's cool about this is that you will take this with you everywhere, and you can use it everywhere. We do pull-ups too. We do circuit training too. There's nothing that you can't learn here that they don't already teach in CrossFit, but we also teach you how to defend yourself, protect others, and you can take that knowledge with you and even apply it and teach it to others even. Who's one of your favorite fighters in MMA?
BJ Penn.
Nice.
Baby J Penn. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. Mostly it takes 10 years to get a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. It took him 3, which is one of the fastest, trained, skilled mixed martial artists at all times to get a black belt.
If you watch any old BJ Penn stuff, man, he's a master at grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a master at fighting off of his back.
He quick with heavy hands.
He's so tricky. Power. Yeah, and he has a granite chin and a granite head. You hit his head, you're gonna have trouble. Your hands are gonna get swollen, and he's a determined ass fighter. He's a guy who will grind until he's nothing, till there's nothing left in him. I mean, I think the one time that he did get TKO'd, he didn't really I think they threw in the towel, right?
Yeah,
threw in the towel.
He wasn't going down.
He didn't go down. Yeah, so it's that's one notable defeat.
Tito never got knocked out either, huh?
Yeah, he did. Tito Ortiz?
Yeah, knocked out?
Cleanly? No, he got TKO'd though, plenty.
Yeah.
But
these big chins of theirs.
His big old fucking head. My personal favorite is Cain Velasquez. There's a guy who has an endless gas tank, and is someone I would like to be or emulate as a fighter. He has incredible wrestling. He has endless drive. He's one of those guys that will drag you into deep waters and drown you with his stamina. So I personally like him. He has incredible boxing skills, incredible kickboxing skills. I mean, pound for pound, I believe he's the best. Robert, he said that his favorite was BJ Penn, and at that time my favorite was Matt Hughes. Those two dudes were rivals. Those were the two guys that we wanted to see, couldn't wait to see fight, blah, 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 blah. And then some fucking random ass Canadian shows up and he starts just cutting away at the fucking welterweight division. And he makes his way to, I believe, BJ Penn first. And he beats BJ Penn. Okay, fine. No way he's going to beat Matt Hughes, blah, blah, blah. Matt Hughes beats him initially. And then, like Rob said, like he comes back and he beats his guy. So not only did he come back and beat Matt Hughes, he shook off all the starstruck jitters because he was a fan of Matt Hughes. And so when he fought him as a fighter instead of as a fan the second time, and then the second time around he armbarred him. You know, he just made sure that he was the victor in that one. And then he beat Rob's guy, I believe, again, right? He believed BJ twice.
They went their distance. However, GSP just had the cardio. He had the strength. He had the and BJ, once he, even his ground game is so great, so great. He could throw his ankle over his neck and get you to suffocate. Just to get you to suffocate. He has like 4 arms, and the relentlessness of GSP was just saying, no, you're not gonna do that shit to me. And he just kept him on the ground,
And that was another thing that I realized right then too. It was like, man, like GSP's wrestling background. He has a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, but it was his wrestling that beat both of our fighters. He went wrestling to wrestling with Matt Hughes, and then wrestling to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And like you said, BJ Penn was capable of pulling his leg over his head and all that shit, but GSP submission wrestling was denying that. And it was beautiful to see, though. It was inspiring to be like, fuck, man, that's the best dude I know or that I like. And GSP is the guy that's breaking that boundary. And I loved watching his career unravel. It was cool to see. But, like, I do also like those risk taker fighters like the Diaz brothers and Cowboy Cerrone and Cub Swanson and all those guys.
Carlos Condit and all.
I don't know. I don't think Carlos Condit's one of those dudes. He doesn't like to bang it out, because Carlos Condit still played the same game that Mayweather does. Now, if you want to give that same respect to Condit, then you have to give it to Mayweather. All that shit you talked about Mayweather and told him he wasn't a real champion, he wasn't real this. You have to give that same respect because he played the same exact game Mayweather would. Float around the ring, get your points. All I'm saying is Carlos Condit isn't that type of fighter.
But don't call him a Mayweather. That's a little.
But he's not a Diaz fighter. He's not a Paul Daly fighter.
I'm just arguing that he's not a Mayweather.
But I'm gonna say that
he's not a brawler.
In the fight against Nick Diaz, he did a Mayweather thing. He was Mayweather in that fight. In that fight,
maybe
against Nick Diaz, he was Mayweather. And on top of that, had he engaged with Diaz, of course, why would you? Mm-hmm. Because Diaz would probably knock him out. Who's your favorite superhero, Rob?
You, because you're so awesome. And you have a nice beard. No, all right.
So, who's your favorite superhero? No, like legit, like it doesn't have to be.
They don't have to have superpowers.
No, definitely not. No. Okay. Who's your favorite comic book character? Period.
I like Nightwing. I'm gonna go with Nightwing. I like to see his progression. I like to see the evolution of the character, where he's at, where he plays a part.
I wanted to say about Nightwing real quick. He's one of the few dudes that broke from being a sidekick into being his own hero. Even having his own series, even having his own spin-off series, where he became Agent Grayson and stuff. Like, he's really earned his spot in the comic book world. And what I dig about him is that in Vengeance for Batman, he broke Bane's back. I saw a comic book where he fucking had Bane, and he was like, ah! And it was more like of course he didn't pick up Bane and slam him. It was more like a maneuver him in the air, and he fell, and it was awesome. So, I'm a fan of Nightwing too. I believe too he's an underrated character. Even now, like, I believe he has a big fan base, kind of like the Boondock Saints. You know how like there's like an underground fan base? I think that's what he has, somewhat like Gambit or Lobo, like this underground fan base. Ooh. And what's cool about that is that there's like Deathstroke and guys like the Punisher. They're breaking through finally. Their fan base was underground, and now it's like, boom, Netflix series, boom, here's a movie for you, Deathstroke, boom, they're in Arrowverse. Like, oh, it's fantastic. I'm glad that they're getting their fair due.
The only downside of that is that you want to see them on the big screen. You want to see them interact with Spider-Man. You want to see that comic issue come to life. You want to see them act around Tony Stark, because they do have interactions. That's how you get, Punisher with certain characteristics. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's only on a television series, he'll never get to introduce himself to those characters. You want to see him near Robert Downey Jr. characters. See John Bernthal next to Peter Parker.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Just to like intimidate him a little bit, just to rough him up.
Just a quick scene too. It doesn't need to be anything too much. Like I just want a quick. That's all. I would be appreciative of that.
Captain America in Civil War, when Captain America humbles Spider-Man. He goes, "Where are you from, kid?" He goes, "Queens." Brooklyn. Imagine what Punisher would say to him,
Speaking of Captain America, AP's a huge Captain America fan when it comes to Marvel Universe. Always taking his side and stuff. I mean, I can't help it either, too. Like, I love Cap.
First Avenger.
When it came to Civil War, I was on Captain America's side.
Me too.
Is it fair to say that maybe, like, because you said that the obvious would have been Batman, is it because, like, maybe, like, you chose Nightwing more of an underdog, and as opposed to Batman, who's probably considered overrated?
So there's going to be feelings against Batman in both areas, for and against. For would be because you sympathize with the character because he is a human being. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not technically classified as a superhero. He's more of a hero and a reluctant one at that.
Yeah, and resourceful at best. You know what I mean? Like he can get like infinite amount of, like his money reaches as far as infinite amount of resources.
His financial well-being allows him to read as many books as he had, to take many trips to different parts of the world.
Not exactly a superpower, but more of a resource.
It's a resource used. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump will use the same resource or his kids will.
Yeah.
But one argument has been made that his ultimate power would be discipline and how to control his rage and the fumes he has against bad guys, and not in a murderous way, but in a vengeful way, to make sure that nobody else has to suffer the way he suffered. Which is why he takes in wards like young Dick Grayson or Tim Drake or Jason Todd.
Why does he take them in?
He takes them in because he feels a sense of connection, because they lost their family, they have no family, and they're kind of put on the streets, and there was no Wayne fund for them either.
Is there any reason specifically why these guys, because I mean, I'm pretty sure all over Gotham there's thousands of orphans or thousands of kids going through what they went through.
Most of them are first-hand.
Well, Bruce Wayne being a billionaire, you're gonna help them too, but he decides to help these guys specifically. Why do you think that is?
Dick Grayson was the first Robin, so we'll start with him. Personally, he was struggling with his family, being murdered at the circus. It only took Batman, to find out who it was, and years later, after learning that his parents were actually murdered instead of a freak accident, he decided to take vengeance on him.
Wasn't there, like, what was cool about that comic, I think, was that there was turmoil amongst the Graysons. Like, there were a family that was, like, kind of falling apart, and they were at their, like, wit's end, and that was the sad thing about it. That was the heavy, like, the family was struggling, and then they ended up dying.
Oh, they were struggling because Haley Circus was struggling because they were putting their elbow on him, saying, if you're not paying us this money, you don't get to come into town and provide your entertainment. So I guess some of the family was saying, let's get out of here.
I even thought, like, I even heard, like, I remember amongst the family, too, like, it was turmoil. Father and mother were ready to leave each other and divorce and shit. So it was like nothing was repaired or fixed about that family. You know what I mean? It had unfinished business and they died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what the heavy weight that I felt when I read up on that.
Batman's unfinished business with his family, though. He was just a boy. He was a kid leaving the theater with his mom and dad.
Well, Grayson was too. He was a kid. He was little, I mean, he might have been a year or two older than Bruce, but, it's not fair either way.
As far as unresolved business, with Batman and Robin, there could have been a connection there, as well as I see something that should have been resolved but wasn't quite there yet.
So what you said, there was other sides to it, then what's the overrated traits about Batman?
Overrated traits as far as his ability to take on metahumans. So there's a lot of hype against who his formidable opponent might be. It's not exactly everybody in the universe. I mean, they've grounded him since they've started coming out with animated series. As far as he knows his boundaries a little bit, he goes, okay, I need a magician for this. Okay, I need Superman for this. Okay, So he's more of a quarterback. I would say more of a head coach than he is an actual player.
But see, that's the difference I brought up between him and Tony Stark, is that Batman's that type of dude to go get somebody, and Tony's not that type of dude. Like when Thanos came, he stood his ground, fought Thanos. I think Batman would have ran to Superman. Said, hey, we gotta fight this fucking guy. Well, see, I feel like at the same time, Batman is very overrated, considering that, like, when Marvel started to come out with certain characters, they had certain gadgets, certain advancements in technology that Batman just wasn't at yet. Now, I'm not going to say that anything was stolen because everything is inspirational. But it's like, when the 70s came out, Black Panther, he came out, he did his thing, he had his gadgetry, chemical compounds, putting people to sleep, boom. And then all of a sudden Batman gives up the gun. He becomes a lot more gadget-based instead of detective-based, and then it goes on from there. I think what makes Batman overrated is that they don't change, like they just change him along with what's going on modernly. They don't ever come up with a new character. They just kind of say, okay, well, Batman doesn't have this. Here's a Marvel character that does. So let's figure out a way to make Batman have it as well, but in his own way. See, I have a picture of Batman flying off in what seems to be looks like an Iron Bat suit, like an Iron Man, but if it was like a Batman, and he's flying, So it's like, what's overrated about Batman also that he has like such a wide hole in his game. Like he beat the shit out of Superman, fucked him up. But Jason Todd and Dick Grayson both laid out Batman, both knocked him out cold. Cassandra Cain too, okay. Harley Quinn knocked him out. And what thing about that fucks with me is that she snuck up on him. She snuck up on a guy who he couldn't be snuck up on. Like that was known about him. And if anything, he was the guy that snuck up on people or left without you knowing, and this fucking loud bitch with no skill just knocked him out for love. And I know I'm putting down love. I love love. But she did it like not her own, it was for somebody else. And then on top of that, Harley Quinn, just on a side note, and another guy who's overrated is Superman. In a comic book, Black Book, Harley Quinn goes on to knock out Superman too, in a boxing match. It's kind of dumb.
Who goes on to what?
Harley Quinn goes on to knock out Superman in a boxing match. In this comic book called Little Black Book. Kind of dumb.
Dude, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah, after, you know what? She's the only person in the New 52 that was written any better. It made, like, after she, like, within her first or second issue, it already talked about how she captured Batman and how Joker beat her ass and kicked her out and everything. So she moved on and she went on with Poison Ivy, and they ended up in Themyscira, where she got trained by Amazons. And fucking Harley Quinn being Amazonian trained makes more sense for her to, when she ended up being in a relationship with Lobo, there was like it was an abusive relationship. Lobo and her went back and forth hitting each other to the point where Harley Quinn rips off Lobo's head. She's formidable, at least. But when she did take out Batman, no skills, just a therapist, knocked him out.
Professional clinical.
Yeah, yes, where they learn how to swing bats all day. And
exactly.
Or actually in this case it was a hammer. And see, I just feel like anybody with the skill of Harley Quinn at that point could sneak up and beat Batman. Like I think Bruce Lee can beat Batman if you like snuck up on him properly.
Also, I believe if you develop a huge fan base, the writers are going to be more encouraged to give her more arsenal as far as advantage point. I would say she's very new into the universe. Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
she was not in the Golden Age. She was on the Silver Age. She was not anywhere
in the
near
animated
the 80s.
series. Like
She's
that's
in-
where she debuted, was in the animated series.
Exactly.
Not even a comic book. And you're right. She was a fan favorite. They brought her on, kind of like the Punisher. The Punisher was a fan favorite. He was just supposed to be a bad guy, and then that's it. This brings up our next segment, counseling with comic couples. On the subject of overrated and inflated, we want to bring up an overrated couple. So, AP, can you, in your vision, what's an overrated couple?
Well, in the comic book world, I feel like the overrated couple is Harley Quinn and Joker.
I agree.
Their relationship is almost idolized as really. We talked about in our last one about toxic couples, and they're definitely at the top of the list because they don't support one another's confidence. They don't bring out the best in one another. I believe
they do not, but I think it's one-sided to the first part you said. I think Harley Quinn gives him everything, loves him unconditionally.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
And he just takes what he can from her.
As he uses her.
Yeah, like if you ever watch The Office, it's like Kelly Kapoor and Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
He just like takes from her and she kind of just doesn't question it, and she's there for
leave her in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and she's there for the good time, and she's kind of ignorant and dumb to the heartbreak and the pain. Yeah,
Have you guys finished that series?
Oh, dude, we finished it over and over, man.
So how about Roy and Pam? Like, Roy always used Pam, and
You know
Pam
what's
was
funny?
like suffering.
So
and
funny.
then he turns his life
We
around.
were just talking about that too, like how Roy goes into the bar and Jim is having a beer there with everybody in the warehouse, right? And Roy goes in there, and April's like, man, how do you do that? Like, as Roy, how do you go up there, shake that man's hand, knowing that he's being with your
And then
woman?
Jim is like, oh,
Jim is the one
she's,
telling him, you know.
engaged to me. And
Yeah.
it's like, damn, as Roy, like, if you put yourself in Roy's shoes for just a second, like, how do you not punch, you know?
Yeah, or be upset. But see, I told her, it's like, you know what? It's because he's taking responsibility for that. He knows that, like, man, because without me fucking up, you wouldn't be with her. It's not that you wooed her. It's not that you are a better man than me. Because in all honesty, all it took was me to be just a little bit better. Just to be a little bit of a better man, and she would have been with me. She would have stood with me.
She did go back with him.
After,
and
yeah. But, yeah, like, you know, it was just me giving Roy his respect. Like, he took that responsibility. He remember he got a DUI. He got like he fucked up as worse as you can, you know. So I figure, like, you know, being him, being an asshole, then fucking up so much, it's got to come with some kind of realization.
Well, then in the later episodes, he ends up getting married.
Yeah, and he ends up being and he ends up being a pretty stand-up guy, and you kind of see, like, damn, like, he did all that stuff that Pam wanted him to do. So it kind of shows that he was capable of being it, but, like, you know, maybe he just didn't find the right girl.
And then that makes you think, what was Pam not giving him to motivate him?
Yeah,
exactly.
You know.
What that girl? Well, yeah, what was that girl
Obviously,
giving
yeah.
him? You know,
Yeah.
good blowjobs. Maybe just better blowjobs.
Roy was just like he was too comfortable. I think when a partner gets too comfortable and you start expecting things to happen without their effort, that's I think where it starts to slide.
Yeah,
Then
and
that
that's an
means-
obvious too, like, because he really, like, tried to snap out. Like, once he first lost her, he tried to snap out of it and do right by her and overcompensate for what he's already fucked up, you know.
But that also means that she probably then allowed him to get to that state by just not respecting herself. Obviously, I mean, if he was able with another woman to get to that point, it might have been that he needed to have that relationship with Pam and realize that you can't treat someone like that. That's what I said about the first real relationship I was in. I knew that it came to a point where I knew that nothing I did was ever going to fix the mistakes I had already made. And I had to separate for both of our good, you know, for the good of both of us, because I wasn't doing my best and I know he wasn't, and it was my fault, you know, like, it wasn't solely his fault. It was, I played my part in it too, you know, but there wasn't anything we could do because we already built the foundations in a unhealthy way. So
How would you feel about how Roy loved Pam right before the kiss with Jim went down? He trusted her, right? He said, you know, get her home, take care of her.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
another
was
thing about
trustworthy for
Pam
another
too.
man to say, hey, take care of my chick.
I don't think it was trustworthy, though. I think it was that
Negligent?
he thought that he was better than Jim and that there was no way that he could lose Pam to Jim. I think it
Oh
was
no!
more
Remember,
of that.
he even thought he was gay. Remember, he
Yeah,
even
that's
said that. He
right.
goes, "I even thought he was gay." So, like,
Good
so of
point,
course
good
you would have been like, "Yeah, I would have left. I would have been fine with it." You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't think that would happen.
Yeah. That brings us to our section, counseling with comic couples. And I think we had a reader email, right, Anthony?
Yeah, we have a fan emailed of Mr. J. He has a question for us. He says, "How do I tell my girlfriend I need space? I thought it would be obvious after I blew her up, slapped her, threw her out a window, and abandoned her, but she keeps smothering me. Please help me, Echoed Influence. I need your advice."
Wow, those are some extreme measures to get some space, huh?
Yeah, it actually sounds real familiar to the couple we were just talking about.
Right on the dot.
Well, what I would say is, as a female, it's not going to be easy, I think, regardless. Like, I feel females already feel clingy to males in general. Or at least there's one person in every relationship that feels...
Yeah, it's more one-sided than the other.
Yeah. And I think it's more about understanding from that person's, the clingy person's point of view. That just because someone wants time alone doesn't necessarily mean that they want to leave forever. With Anthony, he does a great job, like with, I'm just going to use the example of the puppy. When the puppy, she's a puppy, so she does puppy things, destructive puppy things, and she's been digging. So what Anthony will do is he'll scold her, you know, try to show her what she did wrong, and then right immediately after, he's like, he's lovey and he gives her kisses and, you know, shows her that just because he's scolding her doesn't mean that she's not loved.
Mad at her, though,
yeah. So I think for a guy, it would be important to make sure to let the person know that she's loved and still go, because honestly, girls are going to have a fit, and just like a kid, you need to show them, I understand that you're having a fit and it doesn't necessarily reflect on me. It's just you're having a fit. I love you. I'll see you in a little bit. I'll bring you some chocolate, you know? Like
I just need some space.
Yeah.
And you know, I think what's important too is to let your partner know the difference between space and like a break, I guess. Because sometimes I guess when you tell somebody or say something like that to somebody, like I need space, they think that you're gonna go fuck around or go try and be with somebody, and that's why you just need a little inch or whatever. I need a little space, or to reflect, or to go talk to somebody else who probably you feel might convince them to leave the relationship. But I feel like I think it's important to communicate that, to let them know that, hey, you know, we're fine. I need space though, like, you know, I just need a minute or two.
That's the other thing with Anthony too. He's really good. Like when he goes out, he'll always like. I'm the kind of person that I don't want to bug you if you're out, so I won't really text him that often. But he'll text me all the time. He'll constantly like keep in touch with me and let me know that he's, you know, that I'm in his thoughts and that he's remembering me. And those little messages mean a lot, you know. Like they let you know that you're not forgotten and hey, I still remember you, you know. So that's another way to help ease that.
So there's a healthy way for you there, Mr. J. I hope you apply that knowledge.
Yes.
That was great. That was just a bomb disarmed right now.
Yeah, we hope nobody gets thrown out the window any further or blown up again.
No windows, no matches. All right.
Yeah. Sound like a couple clowns, if you ask me. Okay, AP, what is an overrated movie to you? Like, not even that. Let's go further. Let's say what's an overrated saga?
Well, for me, I know. Okay, first I just have to say, what I'm about to say doesn't mean that I think the saga is bad. I think it's just overhyped.
Yeah,
yes,
overhyped.
Star Wars for me. I've watched it a bunch of times. I didn't grow up with it necessarily. I didn't have any family members that were super into Star Wars, but I did watch it as an adult several times, each one of them, and the story never captivated me.
I see.
I was never moved by any of the characters, and I love the creativity of the characters. I love the visuals. I think the effects are amazing, but I mean, I think there are a lot of other movies that are just as fantastic that don't get the same recognition.
I see. Yeah, that's a lot. That's how I feel a lot about like Batman. That's why I bring him up. Is that there's a lot of characters out there. If you read comic books, you realize that they're on the level, if not surpass the level of Batman, and you go, shit, like, you know, you'll realize immediately you only like Batman out of nostalgia because you've seen the animated series.
That's
and
how I was.
you know,
like I think I've said before, but that's how I was when I met you. And then when you said that, it feels like a light bulb switch on, and you're like, oh, the walls caved in.
Look at, what the fuck? Who's this? Who's Doctor Strange? What's he about? Oh God! It seems like he would rip Batman in half. These movies, by the way, like, I see, by knowing everybody's choice. These are unpopular opinions, you know, by her not liking Star Wars. And if I may, mine is Harry Potter. I never really got behind the Harry Potter series. I saw the first movie. Didn't have like this big ass crush on Hermione like everybody did, though the woman is attractive and stuff, but like it just wasn't like a movie that I was like, oh God, I can't wait for the next one. It wasn't like that for me.
I wasn't a big Harry Potter fan either. I wasn't, like I said, still, I don't hate the movies or think they're terrible. They're obviously really cool to look at.
Yeah, you know, the magic, like, and to compare it too, like, I love the crossover attributes, but like, I mean, I love the crossover stuff, but I mean, I love to think about Doctor Strange just like walking on campus and being like, oh, that's gay, old little one. You know, you can't help but think about that.
Sorcerers and sorcerers.
Yeah, they're like, oh, and he's like, the fuck up, like with his hands.
And I hate the people who always say it's not like the book. Well, it doesn't have to be like the book. 2 hours has to entertain you.
Well, while we're on that subject, real quick, there's a reason for that. Even being a comic book reader, I never really go, well, it's not the same as the book. Obviously. Because you being the director, you're appealing to the fan, right? You got to try and surprise somebody who's already read this shit. You know what I mean? And how do you do that? You have to divert from the comic book. That way nobody can give away the ending. No one can go on fucking Twitter and say, oh, this is going to happen because I've watched the comic or I've read the comic, so I know what's going to happen. That's why the director changes it up, so you as a viewer are still surprised.
And
You know?
isn't it like fan art anyways? Like anything made after the original is kind of fan art. It's someone else's view of what someone else created.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, like, you could appreciate it too. Like, I mean, I do.
Has anybody ever said, though, in the history of ever, that the new one is way better than the original made? Can you think of any examples of those?
That was better than the original.
I've seen the adapted version, and that's way better than the original source material.
Blade 2?
Have you?
Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was better the second time. Sorry. Getting back on track. What is your overrated movie?
I hate Transformers.
So wait. Not just like a disingenuous, like just didn't follow up, didn't like it. You hate it.
Okay, it's not a hate as far as I want to go after your writer.
No,
your
of
director.
course not. But like, you just simply didn't find anything enjoyable about it.
So when I was a kid, it was like one of the first on the cusp of CGI animated graphics. And it was Optimus Prime, and his like right hand was like Cheetor.
They had an animal version of it, right? Yeah. Fuck yeah. I had a big old toy of Cheetor. Yeah, dude, and he fucking transformed. Dude, that was cool.
All right, shout out to Cheetor. He was one of the greatest. You know, Bumblebee wasn't even there.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, and Optimus Primate, like he was a fucking gorilla.
Yeah.
Right. That was cool.
And
that was
set aside,
fucking cool. I love that shit.
Let's set aside that how great that was. If you were a '90s, you were alive and tuned in the '90s. Like you can open your eyes and Goo Gaga and even like say hi. You knew what that Transformer movie was like. The Mask and Ghostbusters, the series.
Oh, I love Ghostbusters series too. The little cartoon one had Egon in it. Like he was like I think one of the few dudes that were in it. Like one of the original Ghostbusters. They had like some fucking Latin dude. And then some blonde chick, I think, if I can remember correctly.
And if you want to translate to Nickelodeon, you had Temple of Hidden Doom, Rugrats without that Dill character. Dill was a dick. I hated Dill. Fuck Dill. You can roll that baby carriage down the goddamn block. I fucking hated Dill. Anyway, but yes, Transformers
Robert
to me.
really didn't want a little brother. You can notice.
Yeah, my one and only. Shut up. The golden age, the only age. I pity the fool who come after me. No, but Transformers I had an issue with because Shia LaBeouf I really appreciated as an actor. Over the years, he's obviously gone over the deep end, which, it's not his fault. Fame probably gets to most people. I don't think I'll handle it any differently.
Has nothing to do with his acting skills.
No, of course not. He was great. I loved him. Megan Fox was like, can he get that hot chick, whatever. And then they pushed the series way too far. Now it's not even him. It's with Mark Wahlberg, and like, where did he come from? Bumblebee is everybody's favorite because it's like a bumblebee.
Like I think Bumblebee plays like this cutesy character. You know what I mean? Like people can like really like the Groot character. I wanted to do one more movie that a lot of people love it. For me, like I said, it's just I don't hate it. I just don't I don't care to follow up as a fan with this franchise. Like I said, the first 2 or 3 of them were good. The Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh, it was funny. I was thinking.
So sick of it. I'm sick of it. Like you started on the streets, which was cool. It was grounded. People doing drive-bys and shit, and now you got to worry about gangs, and that was cool. That was grounded. Like you used your car for racing and shit, and getting out of an actual tight spot where you can actually now they're jumping off from fucking building to building. Crossing freeway
icebergs.
To freeway,
Icebergs.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, icebergs. Like how the fuck do you go from I get it though, it's cool, but realistically, you how the fuck do you go from street racing to being in cahoots with a spec ops dude and who's doing shit for you now? Like he's taking orders from a guy who's from the street who has no real credential.
Had a Corona and a taco the last night.
Who the fuck do you think you are, Captain America? You're no Captain America.
All right, when Vin Diesel got shot in the back with a bullet, and he just turned around and saying, what the hell did you just do to me?
Yeah, no.
I would have put 4 more in his head. Just the big grapefruit of a head he has. You're going to stop shooting? that only makes him come closer.
So let's move on to overrated video games, Rob. Do you have an overrated video game for us?
Mine is actually, I will go with The Division. And recently there's coming out Division 2, a sequel to the first one.
And I remember when it was first coming out, you were excited for it.
Very excited. I felt this was going to be, because I do trust in the company. I do trust in the
Came over my house, maybe download the demo and shit, so we play it together.
I said, don't drop this controller. Hold it for the love of God. Even in the restroom, I watched him as I drove by. because I went home. But it was so good.
sad.
It had so many promising characteristics, features, so much co-op that we can do online. I can make
The
fun of them.
gameplay was pretty decent.
It was great up until they integrated the whole point system based off of how long your fat ass is sitting there on the chair. And I hated that. As a skilled player, as somebody who knows how to play video games, you should be able to come in, and if you are good at hit a headshot, you're
get
dead.
it, yes. And
But
it counts. Like, there's so few games that acknowledge that now. I remember Navy SEALs that acknowledge that shit, and you just had to wait 10
roll
more
with it.
minutes. Yeah. And Battlefield is pretty accurate with the
Yeah,
damage.
Battlefield?
The damage status is pretty fucking cool.
I would buy Battlefield after.
But see, like, the reason, for me, I just want to speak generally about, like, how I think just video games in general nowadays are so overrated. And let me explain why. And it's because, like, you can buy your skill now. As you said, it's all about, like, it's not about skill, or it's not about, like, if you're fighting against a kid and he wants to be on your level without actually playing the game, he can do it. He can go to his parents, they'll buy that fucking shit. And it usually happens. And you think, if you're one of these people that are listening and be like, no, I would never do that for my kid, there's something in there where you do give your kid like endless shit of what they want. In this case, it's a fucking video game. And I'm telling you, these kids buy their fucking skill. And even adults who aren't fucking good at the game, they'll buy their skill. So it doesn't matter how good you are at a game. All that matters is that they leveled up, they bought their shit, and that's it. Or yeah, you're right, they could just sit their ass there the whole time and level up and just like get all this armor. And I'm gonna bring up Injustice 2, because Injustice, the first one, was amazing. It was a fucking fantastic game. I loved it because it was like, to me, it was like they fixed Mortal Kombat. Like, Mortal Kombat was the same creators, right? So before that was Mortal Kombat 9, I believe, when you could tag team. And like, that game was pretty good too. It was okay. But when I played Injustice, the first one, it was like they fixed everything in that game. You know, the character interaction was a lot more pliable. It was a lot more like on point. Unless you were like playing online, you had to deal with ping. But yeah, it was way more fluid. It was way more like, I love that game. And then when it got into the second one, it wasn't that it was bad. It still was a really good gameplay, but the outcome, like, if you are in it for the long haul, you'll come to realize that your skill and everything, it could be bought. Like, the skill that you have, the level above that, it could be purchased, you know, and then they're on your level, you know. Like, say you're fighting a guy who's the Joker, and he has like all this fucking armor, like incredible armor now, and you're Superman, like a standard Superman, and you're fucking punching the Joker and nothing's happening. Like, his, you know, like the life goes down very minimal as Superman's life goes down exponentially. And it's because the guy bought it. And then, like, we're playing a game where it's supposed to apply the same reward
Based on
system
your
from
juggling,
the comic books, from this to that. Now you're gonna tell me that like Superman's having a hard time punching the Joker because some douchebag wants to buy his shit? Like, earn it. Like, that'd be a lot more admirable. I'd be like, oh shit, look at this fool earned. And of course, like, if I'm fighting him, like, I can respect that. But it's not like that.
And of course, now it sucks because if you actually learn the moves, the combos, the series, the sequence, and the timing, all of that means nothing. I had an example for Robin that I developed. Very tough character to develop moves for. However, he was no use because everybody I went up to, a 35% hit percentile was reduced to maybe about a 20. Only because I didn't have enough experience points as this other guy. Even though I caught him, juggled him, everything. He just gets more credit because, you know, he just sat there longer than I did playing the video game. I think that's messed up. I think it's about timing, just like any other sport. It's about timing, precision, and not how many steroids you take before the match. I think that was an injustice due to the game Injustice.
Yeah. Robert, go ahead and continue on with this this video game rant and tell us what you're excited for.
In early 2019, about January, February, it's going to be launching Resident Evil 2.
Oh, shit.
And it's
I'm
going to be
excited.
the remastered edition, and it's going to be over the shoulder, and it's going to be with the same tempo and how do you say with the same thrilling factor that the first three had. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
It was more,
I remember when they remade the first one, they made like those, like the transition from zombies, like they're able to run at you now. They're a little bit more swifter, and you have to be a lot more quicker yourself. I gotta ask, do you know anything about the gameplay? Do you know anything that if it's co-op?
They haven't revealed too much at E3. However, they did say that the usual sequences that you had where you meet the first boss, the first licker, the first zombie, your partner, Claire, Those are going to be a little bit hidden as far as tempo. So you're going to meet them at different times and different levels during the game. So they're going to change that up. Also, they added more hallways, corridors, and actual, safe places in different areas of the.
See, and that same formula, it applies to those readers who go and see the movie after and shit like that. Like, because we played the game before, now they have to change up things. You know, we played Resident Evil 2. We know and expect certain things from the game from nostalgia.
Yeah.
And now like they have to figure out how to surprise us again.
Oh,
and can't like what? Don't you appreciate that? I mean, I certainly do. I certainly think that like they thought about us and enough to go look at. We're not going to do the same old bullshit. We're going to try and surprise you because you played this game before. You know, so I really appreciate that. Okay, so we're moving on to our new segment. It's a fun one. April, would you like to introduce our newest segment?
Sure. So our new segment is called Would You Rather. And I mean, Would You Rather is something that I've always loved to play. And my family, I don't know about you guys, but my family got really gross with it always, like licking bums' toes and like stuff like that, you know. So,
to make it rated G, licking bums.
Your family was
toes.
Sleep outside.
Okay. So, Rob, think that you're our fair guest?
No bum toes.
No bum toes. No toes, nothing.
Time.
No, yeah, not this. Hey, Robert's the thing about feet. So, here's the thing. Would you rather smoke with Wolverine till he gets high or wrestle naked with Deadpool? Who, you know, he's a cheater. Just to think about it for a second. He's probably going to cornhole you. He's probably going to put his balls in your face. He's probably going to do all kinds of, like, the dirty shit, you know. Even if I'm reffing, he's probably going to...
He won't shower before.
Yeah, he's all corpse stuff, you know. Just to make it less appealing to you. So, like, you could do that, or you could smoke with Wolverine, who has healing factor, until Wolverine gets high. I mean, I don't know if he even gets drunk.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Will Wolverine even get high? Is the question. It's like asking Captain America to do a drinking contest. I don't.
See,
think
I know. Cap doesn't get drunk, right?
I mean, even with the Asgardian drink that he had at that party, he didn't get drunk. He was still.
Oh,
Cap.
that's right. But Stan Lee was smashed.
Excelsior.
Yeah.
So you're asking me to go against this guy is probably better than Snoop.
It's smoking, definitely. Yeah, he smokes the cigar, definitely.
I'm gonna go with wrestling because I'm more well versed in wrestling than smoking. I've been doing it probably a little longer. Naked for sure is not a problem. He probably has a six pack. That's okay.
He probably has a six pack. It's just falling off, you know.
I probably always wrestle people that had six packs and look at me going, "Oh, it's a good time now, boy."
I know he'll have a good time. I think you'll initially have a good time.
I think you go for the low single on the outside low single. Let's start off. You break your collarbone, and then you wait for him to pick you up.
Like I'm figuring too. I was like, he's incorporating the fact that he's a superhuman and he has superhuman strength. Like he would probably toss you by accident and then crack your collarbone.
And that collarbone doesn't come into my heart or my lungs. He's gonna lift me really up off the air.
I guess it depends on the strain, because in Dark Wolverine, Dakin, Logan's son, started using some sort of super drug to get high. He's capable of getting high, so I'm figuring it's just like it's a matter of how concentrated of the dose it could be.
Oh, but it wears off.
Yeah, definitely, like everybody else.
Yeah.
But
faster.
But he can get high is the point. So would you take that chance? Because he could heal from it, but like I'm high, I'm not high, but oh, you're high, I can stop.
What if we get high with him and he goes, "Oh, where'd you come from?"
Stabs us. Who's gonna be there? I'm like, oh shit, Rob, and then push you into it.
I was gonna take your keys away, Wolverine. I was like, I have it right home.
You told me to get your cell phone. He goes, that was weeks ago, motherfucker. Get out of here.
Get stabbed in the dick.
So you're going with Wrestle Deadpool? Like I said, he might cornhole you, he might be stinky, put his balls in your face.
Okay, what does he have on him?
Nothing. He's naked.
Oh, just like just that
naked, raw, just hanging meat.
That little brain of a body he has?
Yeah, or you could smoke with Wolverine till he gets high. Against Wolverine, I know you have a chance against Deadpool. It's just like you do know he's gonna do dirty shit to you. He probably doesn't wipe his ass proper and shit.
He's gonna eyeball.
And he'll probably like wipe his ass on the back of your neck and leave shit stains. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, wait, is he? Well, what weight are you talking about? No,
I think it's about 185.
realistically, I'll go with he's trying to outsmoke Wolverine, which...
In a sci-fi world, just say that, like, because it's like saying scientifically, but in a... You can say that.
Wait, time out. Do I have, like, weeks to train with smoking?
Nope. Like, if we
right
brought
now?
them out right now, there's Wolverine with the bong, and Deadpool's naked right there.
I'm
On the
naked
mats.
wrestling the shit out of Deadpool real fast.
On the mats over there, right?
I'm going with Deadpool.
Yeah,
on
and
this
Deadpool flexes, and like there's maggots like crawling out of
Oh,
his
no.
and everything. And on his, oh dude, he's gonna put his feet in your mouth. Oh,
We're going back to
Stick his
Wolverine.
toes.
We're going to outsmoke Wolverine to death.
Yeah.
Play Snoop Dogg in the back, son.
Rob might be the first to ever die overdose on marijuana.
What would you choose of the two?
Of it.
Of getting high with Wolverine?
Oh, I'd get high with Wolverine. I think he'd tell me to stop. So, Rob, another new segment that we wanted to create was Echoed Influences recommended reads. Now, Rob, being my good friend, what's a recommended read you have for me today that we can exchange?
Okay, so being that I told you earlier that my favorite superhero or hero of all DC and Marvel has to be Nightwing, of his up-and-coming journey, his story, his journey through when he first came onto the scene till now.
So you're saying it's an origin story?
No, this is not an origin story. This is a coming to in his own right kind of tale. So he became he was not Robin at first, and then he became Nightwing, and now he has to battle for the cowl. Batman is presumably dead because he was disintegrated by the Omega beams by Darkseid in Final Crisis. So he was assumed dead. So basically, Nightwing had to seek out an impersonator that was going around the city, shooting people, coming down on thuggers, muggers, everybody and their mother that was trying to like do crime. And they'd be shot. He'd find 2 bullets, in every which way that were just, critical. Eventually, they find out who it was. It was Tim Drake who discovered it.
Who was it?
It was actually the second Robin.
Jason Todd?
It was Jason Todd.
How exciting.
Killing everybody wearing the Batman suit.
Oh shit! Oh my god! I think I've read a passage to that too. Like that's okay. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So Nightwing fights him in the first engage. He gets scuffed and he has to leave. He has to go and recover. Jason Todd, was just a little too much for him. And then Tim Drake has to go fight him, or he finds Tim Drake somewhere. So he puts him in a bad position and he actually takes him. So he takes Tim Drake, and Alfred says to Damian Wayne, which is Damian Wayne is Bruce Wayne's biological son. Yeah, they're all Robins are there.
Let's fight for the cow for real.
You need to go get Tim Drake back.
Not too many spoilers. I might want to read this. I mean, I'm going to read this because you haven't.
Of course. So Nightwing has to go eventually face Jason Todd, to get his Robins back and to get, to battle for the cow.
Man, that must have been exciting for you being a Nightwing fan. You're reading it, wondering if your guy's gonna come out. Okay, I myself have a recommended read for you as well, and it's The Punisher, and it starts with 218 to 224, and it's basically the Punisher taking the War Machine suit and. He's protecting an entire country, and it's pretty cool because that country is stealing the young boys and making them go to war, and the country's in a civil uprising and shit. So he's protecting the people as the military of that country is trying to take him down. Now, Punisher's doing Punisher shit. Think about what he would do in such a suit. He's ripping dudes in half. He's putting his fist through people's faces. He's swinging the fucking tank and crushing people, and he's blowing people up on a mass level, on a nuclear level. And so eventually the Avengers have to get involved, and dude, I remember in one of the scenes he went after the Thing, and the Thing yelled out get him off of me, and he's on top and he's just pounding away at the Thing. Everybody has to take him off, and then Carol Danvers, which is Captain Marvel, she comes and starts fucking going to town on him. What's cool about the Punisher too is that he has a moral compass on how and when it's necessary to kill somebody. In which case Carol Danvers is going after him, trying to rip him out of the suit. He tells the suit before engaging with her that he says no fatal measures. He goes, we're not here to kill her. He just wants to get her off. So he knows that she's a good person and stuff.
He does draw the line.
So yeah, he definitely does, and that's what's cool about him in the suit. And he's a little bit more careful while he's a lot more destructive. So that's what makes it really cool. There's a simple duality to it. And he even tries to do the right thing, you know. So I'm not gonna try and give away too many spoilers about it.
Without giving too much away, does it shine on how he got the suit and where Tony Stark and Rhodey are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're gonna be surprised.
All right. I'm all in.
You're gonna be really surprised. I'll say
it's not
this.
easy to sneak into Stark Tech. You know, it's
definitely not. No. What's cool though, and this is well known in the comic book realm, is that Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel, she's in a relationship with Rhodey. So imagine the disrespect she feels.
Oh, shit.
You know, like, you're in my boyfriend's city, you know. So, now, okay. So, in our fantastical fan favorite, Inter-Realm Rumble. Our two contestants come from DC and Marvel. In this corner, we have Batman, who's known as one of the baddest dudes from DC. You know, in his own sense, it can be known as a god killer. And in the other corner, we have Hawkeye, who is, in my opinion, on that same level. He handles gods. He helps the team take him down. He's just as resourceful, you know. So, Robert, what do you think about this matchup?
Okay, so you're dealing with two non-superpowered human beings, both tacticianers in their own right, both very strategic, both like to operate alone. Obviously, Batman, he does have a Robin, but he does prefer to operate alone. Mm-hmm. And
it's like it's less for him to worry about. I know he doesn't, even though he goes out there with the Robin, there's like an extra thing for him to worry about. I think when he works by himself, there's a lot less collateral damage that comes with it.
Remember in Achilles where he tells his cousin, "I can't fight the Trojans when I'm worried about you."
Yeah.
That's kind of his mentality as well.
And it must be even harder when he goes out there with the Bat family. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're kicking ass, but I gotta make sure like none of you motherfuckers get speared or something, and because I bring the whole team down.
Where's Bat Baby?
Yeah.
Ooh, forgot about Bat Baby.
It's like, forget Bat Baby. She's gone. I have Bat Baby.
Oh, all right. This is awkward.
So
Hawkeye always reminded me of a character like in Saving Private Ryan, the sniper's nest, the one who's gonna go up by himself and ride or die. I'm gonna be in this location.
Yeah.
I'm gonna oversee all of you, give you all the intel you need, and if I need to, I'll sacrifice my own life. And that's exactly what he did. Age of Ultron, if you saw that movie too, Barton, the helicopter coming in was gonna shoot us back, and then all of a sudden, here comes Quicksilver, saves Barton to save the kid.
Yeah.
And they both had that undying, allegiance to humankind. It was just, it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think Hawkeye is a real underrated character. I feel like a lot of people, as soon as they heard this, they written him off already. They were like, nah, he couldn't win. So what we can do, first off, let's talk about some similarities that they have. So I know Batman lost his parents at a young age, and he didn't really train so much until he went to like maybe high school, college. I think maybe college is when he started to actually train. And so like his drive came at a different time, and different things happened to him too, like that. Him being rich, he didn't have to go to no orphanage or anything. So that was the only good thing about his situation, was that he didn't have to go to an orphanage or anywhere that everything else sucked. It's bad. How the fuck do you get over that shit? I mean, I immediately think about those kids and shit in the border and stuff, like, even just having them taken away and then them losing their parent. That alone is just enough. But losing them, seeing them die in front of you is fucking heavy.
Yeah, PTSD.
So yeah, what's Batman, he has to deal with that darkness. Now, with that comes the similarity that Barton has. Barton lost his parents at a young age as well. The difference is that he spent 6 years in an orphanage before he, how do you say, it's the old chestnut. It's he runs away and joins the circus, similar to even Dick Grayson. Joins the circus, and he's trained under the swordsman, and another guy named Trickshot, helps him out. Two fucking badass, spot on,
deadly precision.
Yeah, never miss type of dudes, right? So they work with him, and it's kind of cool. It's like a Ra's al Ghul thing with them too. Like they end up doing something evil or bad, like where they're breaking the law, they're stealing money, and using their skills to do it, and
their morals become compromised.
Yeah, and Hawkeye's like, well, look, you taught me, but this is wrong. This is, you shouldn't be doing, blah blah blah. That makes him a hero in the sense, And he came from hard times too. He was a tricks. He knows his trick shots and shit. And then he joined Shield, S.H.I.E.L.D. taught him how to fight metahumans, which I think is something that Bruce or Batman didn't get initially. Like, he didn't get that training on how to deal with metahumans, but Martin did. And before he went out there to actually fight them and stuff, before he actually was trained, he made the Avengers notice him. You know, they thought he was stealing things, and actually he was a hero.
And there's always the interpretation of where Batman came into the metahuman life. You know, there's people that he meets first, as opposed to others in different depictions. Sometimes he meets Superman, sometimes he meets
in a
Flash.
different series of Batman, they have like some kind of confirmation where Batman's not a human. He touched the Uru metal, which is like the same metal of Dr. Fate's helmet, and that gave him some kind of ability, like enhanced ability. Yeah, bigger penis.
Yes, why not?
But like, yeah, in some instances, Batman's considered a metahuman. Even Amanda Waller would consider him as such. So I mean, like, seeing that fact, that doesn't factor out the fact that Hawkeye can't take him because he's used to fighting dudes who are even stronger than him, above average. You know, like what happened in Civil War? Who was the first dude he went after when they were all running at each other? When they all ran at each other, who did Hawkeye go after?
Vision?
The Vision. That was the first dude. Fucking shot him out of the sky, and he like electrocuted him again.
I thought you meant like in the, what do you call it, the first exchange.
I see. No, that his first exchange, he was pulling his punches against Black Widow. Yeah.
And actually, in the first scene that he comes in, it's actually against Vision again.
Yeah, I'm gonna like. Okay, do you have any cons for Hawkeye? Like anything that he has holes that are exposed?
Holes would be that he's a human and he's trying his best with a whole lot of metahumans.
How and why would Batman beat him?
Well, Hawkeye to me strikes me as somebody who is brave enough to go out during the day. Batman is, to me, he chooses his times during the night.
Yeah, he's strategic. So
he plans his day, you know. But if you keep Batman up enough, long enough, and he has to go through the day, he's very visible. I mean, black against white kind of shines.
Well, purple, you know, it's not, you know, I just think, like, you're right. Like, when Hawkeye's called, he goes. He kind of has a...
Matter day, yeah.
Yeah, somebody has to, they call on him, they give him, like, an objective. Batman has his own thing, like, he's his own boss. Yeah. He goes out just at night, because it's his best time, you know, like, kind of like a vampire.
Yeah.
You know,
I think one's more reluctant to join the League, whether it's the Avengers or the Justice League. Batman always is the, how do you say, I'll be your wild card.
Yeah, and I think that's the role Hawkeye plays. And I just think it sucks that Hawkeye doesn't get that same recognition. He gets less recognition.
Because he plays the guy that he knows they need him.
Yeah, and that's good. But same thing with Batman. Like, in a sense, they need him in some instances too.
Batman's a bit more selfish, I would say that.
But you can't deny that they do in some instances. They can use his resources. They do use his shit. And his plans, you know, and all I'm saying is that the thing about Batman is that he has so many incredible feats that I feel like Hawkeye kind of like matches up with. The feats are great. The holes, though, they widen for Batman because it's not just Harley Quinn who knocked him out. It's not just his two students. And it's not just the fact that fucking Damian Wayne, who's a child, backed him up. It's not that. It's that a guy like the Joker stalemates him. You know, whether, like, I've seen Batman fight dudes with swords and ninja stars while the Joker pulls out a pocket knife and sticks him, you know? It's about how you get that close to him. You know, and that's credit to the Joker. And how many times has Batman been outsmarted by a fucking stupid bomb or by some toy that the Joker made, you know? So, like, at the same time, I feel like Hawkeye was more of a thought out character. Though he came way later than Batman, he was like, okay, this is what Batman is, here's Hawkeye, and here's the improvement that I feel, the writer felt, that was the improvement.
Okay.
So my only thing is that Batman's stats are so great, yet he has such a hole in a bigger hole than Hawkeye does. Personally, Anthony Tamayo will give the fight to Hawkeye. Hawkeye, I think he deserves it. He deserves the recognition, and he deserves the win because everything's pretty much the same until you go into the errors and who's beaten who and how they lost. Hawkeye more than capable than taking advantage of Batman's errors. Which you're right, he's human, you know.
I do take into account Batman's villains. and how they pose a threat, not just physically but mentally, to the opponent. They have a lot of
Penguin, dude. He's an influential motherfucker.
Riddler always tries to be the smarter of the two, and they're both geniuses in their own right.
Yeah.
You also have the master hallucinogen, with agents, Scarecrow. You have a person who is well versed in politics and has power, and
Cobblepot.
So, you have Cobblepot, and you have Two-Face, you have Harvey Dent, you have
Lex Luthor sometimes too. I know that's not exactly his villain, but like he does have.
There's a lot of crossovers.
And Lex Luthor becomes the fucking president.
He's smarter than Batman, obviously. There's a lot of people that are outmatched. Batman's supposed to be the representation of being outmatched and overcoming adversity, even though you don't have what other people have.
If more fans humbled themselves like that, I think I'd be a lot more interested in Batman.
That's not the way he's
because
presented.
everybody thinks he's or wants to believe he's presented as this indestructible, non-fallible guy, when really like that's what makes him such a great character.
Year one would be the issue you want to look at then, to be humbled by Batman, because that's the one where he's actually struggling. It's like Daredevil when he first put on that bandana over his head in the series. Before Defenders in Netflix. It's where the character does derive from an origin where he's not just always bad at it. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't have the quick Will Smith lines. He doesn't have the douchebag, braggy attitude. He actually is humble. He is afraid for his life. He does breathe and pant. He does go to sleep, and he can't
bleeds,
sleep. But he has to step up, and it shows an origin, and the development of the character shows that he's not always the best. I mean, he sometimes is the worst on himself.
Well, I want to describe how versed Hawkeye is in that manner. Like, not only does he match up with fighting metahumans, Hawkeye, in his current issues, he's old man Hawkeye, and he's basically rounding up the Avengers. And that says something about him. Like, it takes him to, like, he doesn't stop trying to take him down, and then becomes an old man in doing so. So, it's dope, dude. He's taking down metahumans.
He becomes the captain.
As an old man. So, I'm gonna say, like, in my Inter-Realm Rumble, I say Hawkeye wins. I don't see any information or new information or any information that's current where Batman can come out on top. If they're going bone to bone, it's fucking on as is. I'm talking about just them as they are going at it. I give it to Hawkeye. Like, there's nothing Batman has or has done that Hawkeye can't do, in my opinion. The only difference is that I haven't read or seen anything where Hawkeye gets crept up on and captured. In a sense, like sure, but Batman's been hypnotized. Like I'm saying, like I think everybody's been, but like I'm saying, everything's level except that. Like if Hawkeye has been captured, it's usually like him trying to fight and then he gets fucked up or someone knocks him the fuck out. And if someone has crept up on him, if someone has information on that, I'm sure it's whoever crept up on him was better in skill than Harley Quinn. So I feel like as long as you surpass the level of Harley Quinn, I believe Hawkeye, he surpasses her, first of all. And second of all, he's way more stealthier. He's way more accurate. He's way more like hand to hand. And it seems like Batman has a glass jaw. And most of his comic books or in the animated series, he gets hit. He gets sat down. Look at Damian Wayne hitting him a few times. And I believe sometimes when Batman fought Damian, he probably wasn't giving him his all. But when Damian hit him, he sat him down. Both of his buddies sat him down. Jason Todd beat him hand-to-hand combat. Beat Batman. Like Deathstroke beat Batman in hand-to-hand combat. He's lost to a lot of notable guys hand-to-hand.
They're under different circumstances.
You know what I mean?
Circumstances.
And that's
also Robin under hypnotism.
No, he's lost to Jason Todd straight up. Like, he's lost to him as the Red Hood.
Because he doesn't want to lose Jason Todd either. You know that Batman holds back all the time to not kill somebody.
No, definitely. But so does Hawkeye. He has a contingency plan for everybody, even the Vision. When the Punisher had to save Iron Man because he has an arrow for everything. He shot Iron Man, it EMP'd him, he went down. Punisher had to come and save him. But yeah, no, I still, like, aside from the cinematic universe, the modern take that they have comic book wise on each character.
The best Batman they can produce.
Yeah, and the best Hawkeye, I give it to Hawkeye. Because, first of all, he's underrated, and nobody cares to look at him. And I'm going to tell you again, the reason you go for Batman is out of nostalgia. Knowing very well that Batman has a hole in his game bigger than Hawkeye's. Hawkeye will exploit that. If you think fucking Harley Quinn could sneak up on Batman and knock him out, you have to believe, or you gotta know that Hawkeye will do something worse. And you know, like, and I said, like, they're matched up evenly until then. When there's a hole in your game, like, right, fine, fair. Batman has a lot of cool feats, and a lot of people want to bring him up. but it means fucking nothing. It means nothing if you're capable of that happening to you. And I think, like you said, the God aspect of it, like, it doesn't fit. You're just in the fucking way when we're trying to take down Darkseid. You know, and so with that said, Hawkeye, I don't feel is in the way. I feel he contributes. He doesn't like back off and try and like hide and make sure, and then you know, he has an arrow for everything, like I said. So I say like Hawkeye beats Batman by creeping up on him, knocking him out and sedating him, or like even having an arrow that like will put him to sleep, just like something, because he's not gonna try and kill him either. He might, like, if he's going to shoot him with something, I mean, it's like going to be non-lethal.
I mean, Batman has somebody to train with in his camp. He has an arrow. He does have an archer. So, I mean, whatever he's going to throw at him, I'm sure it's not going to be the same, but he can anticipate. He can anticipate bullets.
See, like I said, like, you can list any trait you want, anyone. It doesn't take away the fact that Harley Quinn knocked him out.
Overwhelming against Batman, which is why
you don't think
Harley it will be a draw.
But you don't think Harley Quinn knocking out Batman is an overwhelming stat?
That was part of a story that they were trying to
illustrate. Yeah, but you don't think it fucks with Batman's stats at the very least?
It boosted her character.
And it fucked with his stats. Did it not? Because like, doesn't that leave that open then? Don't you think that, okay, now Batman obviously can get knocked out?
Well, what was the whole episode about? Do you remember the whole episode and how he got there and how he got like his back turned? Was he distracted?
He was in the warehouse on the ground. It's not like Harley Quinn came from the sky. It was in a warehouse, and there was boxes, like big old crate boxes. She came out from behind and fucking whacked him. He was in there looking for the Joker. I think he was in a haste, you know? He was like probably looking for somebody. And he was like probably in a haste at the very least, you know, and he probably wasn't paying attention. But he was crept up on by one of the loudest bitches in DC.
What's wrong with that? I mean, dude, people get caught by embarrassing people.
Well, who caught Hawkeye like that? Can you name somebody?
I can't, because I haven't delved into his history as much as I did Batman.
Okay, well, that's your fault. You should read better characters, or you should read other characters other than Batman. That's what I'm saying. Like, you read Batman because nostalgically you thought he was the best, not caring about guys like Hawkeye who are better than Batman, whether you like to admit that or not.
Is Hawkeye a genius?
I mean, I think he has a high intellect, but he's not a genius intellect. I just think he follows orders to the fullest. That's it, you know. And maybe their moral codes and all that shit might be different. Their discipline might be different, but the holes in the game are exploited.
Batman's a narcissist. He's out there on the field. He makes command, and he makes fucking tech for people. He's like a Tony Stark amalgam with a Captain America and a Hawkeye.
I don't see what that has to do. What that has to do with how Batman
level of contribution as a hero to a team and himself and his own team.
In a fight, that means nothing between two guys. In a fight, when you say
it all comes from one man.
I know, but you're saying Batman's contribution means nothing when he's fighting against Hawkeye. He can contribute all he wants. Here you go. Here's everything you need and want.
I think they both find angles.
And so does
Batman.
And at the same time, Hawkeye does the same thing Batman does. Everything's the same. And there's nothing that Batman does that Hawkeye can't do.
So it's a stalemate.
No, I'm saying Hawkeye wins because of the simple fact that Batman has too many holes in his game.
Too many holes?
Yes, and I've named them. I've named plenty of them.
What Superman are you talking about?
The current one. Right?
Talking about New 52, or are you talking about post Golden Age?
No,
I'm sorry, Silver
current
Age.
right now, which is New 52.
I don't read New 52.
That's not my problem.
That's my problem. I don't get along with it.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I think that's the problem. That's what I'm trying to point out, that you don't read enough comics.
They scrapped the Dick Grayson series, by the way. The one I was into, they scrapped it.
Sure enough,
but
I
got into something for what? So they could redo it again.
But sure enough, but like you need, like, if you're gonna make an assumption that Batman can beat Hawkeye, don't you think you should reuld Hawkeye comics? So if you talk about Avengers Hawkeye versus original Batman, definitely Hawkeye.
At least back in the day they went decades. Now we're going 2 to 3 years. I mean, there's an obvious problem in the writing room when it comes to longevity of characters and what they can do and what can't do.
I think you're wrong.
Look at how many times your guys' shit got
Sure, it gets revamped, but it's just to mold into the modern day. The everything moves way too fast. And I think that
it's not even just to reprogram the environment. I think
you can't say something like that until you read it, because you haven't read any of those to determine whether they're good or not. Because I mean, shit, I'm reading this shit and it's fantastic. I have nothing but good things to say. You can't sit there and say like, oh, they rebooted because it didn't do well. Well, did you read it? Because this shit is really well written.
I took a step back.
It's incredibly well written, and these fake comic book readers just want movies and movie adaptations. And I think, like, if you actually go to the comic book store and read comics, dude, like, you would agree with me. You would say Hawkeye would win. But if you're just a common moviegoer who watched Batman in an animated series, of course you're going to go for Batman. And of course you're going to read a comic book just from him. But read read Old Man Hawkeye, and then come back and tell me that he can't beat Batman. That would be bullshit. And I'm saying Batman has bigger holes in his game
I like you're taking
that Hawkeye would exploit. You know, you can't sit here and tell me Batman's going to win because he did A, B, and C when he's also lost to A, B, and C. And when you have just Hawkeye, and I'm telling you what he's done, A, B, and C feats, and you have nothing rebuttaling that where he's failed. So, I mean, unless you have any, like, new information that you can give me that Hawkeye has done stupidly or that Batman overcomes somehow, like, I'm not going to change the answer from Hawkeye just because you're a fan. I think it's not it's more of a denial. It's not like of course you're not convinced because you're denying it, but it's there. In this case, Hawkeye pulls it off. Do not care if you're convinced. You're in denial. Come at me with some information.
Hawkeye wins.
Okay, so with that said, this episode is brought to you by
Home Gallery's Art Swap Meet, which will be on July 11th, Wednesday, from 5 to 8 p.m. It's around the same time as the Pico River Farmers Market.
So it'll be at Smith Park.
At Smith Park. Remember that our Art Swap Meets, we don't accept money. Money is no good here. All we accept is something that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
Could be baked goods, could be band merch, could be anything.
Your currency is your art.
As long as you took some time to make it, you know. It doesn't have to be professional quality. You could bring your doodles, sketches, you know, just come out and hang out with us.
All right. Thank you again, Robert, for coming on the show with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It was pretty fun. All right, guys. See you next time. Have a good night.
Can I be here for the comic one?
Hey, put down your nipples. What?
Yeah.